Okay, so we are going to wrap up the session and we're going to shift now to featuring a beautiful, beautiful human being who I've had the pleasure and delight to support for a year now, who joined my program a year ago and did it twice. I would love to introduce Courtney Blankenship. Maybe Myrna, you can put a spotlight or like feature the two of us or somehow, if you can do your magic there so we can be the two of us in the screen, but if not, it's fine. But welcome, Courtney.
Hello.
Courtney is a colleague and a friend of mine that I have known for many, many years. First, we met as fellow music business educators in higher ed. We would always bump into each other at music business conferences. Oh, wow, Courtney, look, we're spotlighted now. So Myrna did a good job. Okay, we have connected through being colleagues in music conferences where we were both presenting and cheering each other up. And we would always find each other. And when this whole, idea, when my vision of creating this program started, she immediately came to mind because I knew that she had a lot to offer in addition to what she had been doing. So Courtney, I'd like to welcome you. Thank you for being here. And I can't wait to share your journey, your story with all of our wonderful attendees of this masterclass. Why don't you share a little bit about yourself so they get to know more about you?
Okay. Thank you so much for inviting me. And I'm so glad to be here and see all of these amazing people. I'm so excited for you all and the experience you're about to embark on. A little bit about me. We have a tendency to start with what we do. So I have been directing a music business program at a school of music since 2008. But I am a mother. My children are both grown, both in school. I've got a 20-year-old and a 23-year-old. And I happen to also be divorced and have built up an academic career. My background is in marketing, a lot of writing background, and my artistic background is in piano performance and ballet. I'm not really a practicing musician right now. However, I surround myself with students who are musicians. I have a lot of music business students, majors and minors that I teach and love that process of teaching. I met Fabiana, as she said, several years ago in our educational journey and professional journey. I entered her coaching program sort of at a pivotal time in my life. We all have unexpected twists and turns. We all have difficult transitions. At the time, I had been teaching for about 17 years, or in the educational sphere for about 17 years. I was a new empty nester and just kind of wondering what the next part of my life phase was going to look like. And I love what I do in teaching, and I'm still doing that. But my main goal for my students is to help them achieve success and see beauty in the world. And in working with Fabiana, I realized, okay, I have my own personal story, my own journey, and how can I tie those threads together and also offer that on a larger platform for adults and women who particularly might be going through difficult transitions similar to what I did, like divorce and losing parents and being a single mom and building up your academic career in the arts. So that's a little bit about me. I was through the finding my why. That really led me to do some soul searching, and I realized that I had worked very hard to achieve peace in my life, just in all forms. And I wanted to involve peace in somehow in an offering for me to create as a coach and a business to work with others. And so my program, Pathway to Personal Harmony, is sort of a tie-in of all of my particular tools, tricks, hacks, life hacks, strategies to help others also achieve peace in their life. So I consider myself a seeker, and probably you all are too, if you're musicians in the education space, if you're here in this training. And so I was a little lost, I guess, when I had first entered Fabiana's program. I knew that I wanted to do, I'm also 50, I turned 50 this year. And so I knew that I also kind of, as much as I love teaching, I didn't know if my traditional teaching path was going to be what I did for the rest of my life. And how was I going to embrace this next phase, with my children gone, being an empty nester. I am engaged, but my partner lives an hour and a half away. So I'm actually by myself quite a bit. And so in Fabiana's group, we went through these different processes. The community was, of course, amazing. I shared with Fabiana just a couple months into our program that we were having a coaching call, and I shared with her, part of my being a seeker is that, going through divorce and those types of things, I was in a lot of counseling. I was in years of counseling, trying to figure my things out. That's part of being a seeker. I think that you have to examine your life, and I'm a big proponent of that. But in being in Fabiana's program and working with Fabiana, I realized, Fabiana, I no longer need to really be in counseling. I need to be in your program and with you as a coach, because this is leading me towards my next path. I was just sort of ready for this. And so doing all of these, the mindset shifts, the, digesting information, reading books, but also discussing them and reframing a lot of, one of you mentioned blocks, negative mindsets, and just building upon that, the confidence, the camaraderie, the skill sets. I have a confidence and accessibility of resources that I never had before. It was very mind expanding. It was very challenging and exciting in a good way. I knew I needed something to kind of spark and energize me, and this has done that. For me personally, I don't think there's any sort of exact timing. I chose to do the program for a second session because I needed to more fully integrate some things. And so for me, that worked really well. I'm not, as a single mom, I'm still employed at the university. I'm still doing that position, but I have been able to confidently step into this business phase for me and this new business. What I will be doing in the future, it's hard to tell, but I just have a confidence and excitement to know that I have options and that there's a lot of possibilities. And I have a network of people that think like I do now. And a lot of us, if you're here right now, you probably, have spent a lot of your life, wondering, okay, so what's next? What's long-term for me? But I think being with the right people, Jim Collins has this book, Good to Great, and getting the right people on the bus. And that's within an organizational framework. But I think that's so important also just in a life building, professional and personal. For me, it's just as much of a personal growth process than professional being in Fabiana's program. It's so mind expanding. And so that's basically what it was like to work with Fabiana, life changing and transformational. It kind of goes back to finding your why, but also realizing that we all have our own unique story. And so even though there might be many teachers, coaches, influencers, writers, people out there, nobody can duplicate your story. And that's what will attract people to what you have to offer. And so for me and my story, I had to go through a lot of crappy stuff to achieve peace. And when I achieved peace, I was just like, I am never going to let this go, ever. And in achieving that peace, as I was working with Fabiana in the program, I realized, what were some tools for me that helped me achieve that peace? Because if that's my goal and that's what I want to share with other people, what were the tools and strategies and part of my journey in achieving that peace? So, I'm kind of an acronym person, and that's popular with, strategies and frameworks. And so I came up with what I call my peace plan program. I knew I wanted to do something surrounding achieving harmony, and my peace pillars stand for P for projecting confidence, E for embodying an attitude, A for achieving community, C for creating calm, and E for entering a state of flow. And under those umbrella pillars are really just strategies that I have embraced or feel like can help other people also reach a more harmonious, peaceful place in their life. So that's sort of where my background comes from in terms of my story. And what I am into and want to offer. I tell this story about when I went through a divorce at the time in 2010, and my mother was dying of cancer, and I was a mess. I had to move out of the house that my kids grew up in, and I was very concerned about being a single mom and building my academic career. And this all took place in a very small community. And yet through that pain, I immediately creating this new space for myself to grow and my children. I felt a peace that I never thought was possible, and I didn't anticipate it. And so that was a beautiful thing for me. So yeah, and a lot of these strategies that I've been using and packaging and sharing with other people help throughout my life in a variety of transitions. And I have, as I said, I became an empty nester a couple of years ago. And at first I was like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? And then I realized, wait, this is just another transition. And so a lot of those strategies that I employ, for instance, achieving community. I learned pretty quickly, who I could count on and who I couldn't, who I needed to let into my inner circle and rely upon and work with and nurture that community so I could step into my new space as a single mom with confidence, and step into an academic career that was pretty daunting as a woman and a single mom, and having to be, I was an instructor for a number of years while taking classes full time to work myself into a tenure track position, then achieving tenure. So it was just a long road. So I knew how important my inner circle was. One of the things that Fabiana shared with us early on is, all of us in the program likely had another full-time position, and we were working to create a business that was a gift to ourselves as well as to other people. And a lot of time, especially with women and imposter syndrome, and especially with our concern of how we are perceived by other people, we might be wondering what other people think of us. And Fabiana told me early on, and this has really helped me, and I go back to this a lot, is that yes, I have an employer and I appreciate what I do and I'm grateful for that. And going through Fabiana's program has helped me become a better teacher. But your employer doesn't own your soul. and you are able to develop your own ideas, your own creative ideas, your own platform for building either what you want to do now or what's next for you. And so specifically on the online front, I had a lot of questions. I had a lot of concerns, as you all do, and it feels overwhelming at first, but just small bite-sized chunks. Start with developing a Facebook group. As Fabiana taught us, start with, perhaps, and you learn all this lingo in the group that at first I was like, oh, this is so overwhelming. What is all this? But it all comes. If I can learn it, anybody can learn it. Talking about a landing page, just one, entry point to bring in people. She talks a lot about having conversations with individuals. So you could start with a Facebook group. You could start with engaging in conversation. For me personally, I had my own like Wix website that I managed on my own. And then I did, through Fabiana's contacts, seek out some professional assistants to do a landing page or sales page, which I used for my first launch that I did in December. And then I was getting momentum, but I knew that I needed to integrate a lot of the concepts further. So I signed on with Fabiana for another 6-month session. And in that time, I knew that I had more of a direction for me personally. Some of my colleagues in the first round were just take it and ran with it. But because of the way I see the world, and everybody sees it differently, I just needed to do this pathway for me. So I ended up actually hiring. That's the beautiful thing of, when you're working full time, you do have some money that you could direct as well to assist you. And so I knew that I wanted to have a new website. So I found someone who could help me with that and transform that. And so I've done a lot of learning on my own. I've learned to better nurture my Facebook group. The technology pieces, all of the applications, things that are available to us as entrepreneurs, that was invaluable, just having access to what is out there, because I didn't know where to begin. And you can just start with baby steps. Right now, I'm fortunate to have a virtual assistant through Fabiana's assistance. And, I wouldn't have done that first thing, but now I know the direction I want to go, and I know I don't have time or the energy to do a lot of the social media engagement or content creation. I love it, but it distracts me from what I need to be focusing on. And that's another thing that Fabiana helps you with is, figuring out where your zone of genius is, to use Gay Hendricks' words, and, where you might be able to work towards allowing someone to help you, to give you more time into your zone of genius. I am a work in progress. I am still refining, tweaking, developing. But I am light years away from where I was when I started the program. And I'm very appreciative to Fabiana for that. I will say in full transparency that I signed up with Fabiana without doing the 5-day training. So I guess that tells you how much I was influenced by her passion, her sense of leadership and ability to articulate her vision. I had always been impressed with her and what she was doing on an educational forefront. I knew she had started a school, more than a school, a music academy in Florida, and then had gone on to teach and direct an entrepreneurship center at a university. I've always been interested in entrepreneurship. I've taken small business development courses. I've had 2 or 3 business plans for other ideas that I haven't necessarily pursued. But I think that, a lot of us are sort of creatives and entrepreneurs. So I was just at a point in my life where I knew I wanted to embrace something And Fabiana was a good communicator. She had reached out to me. We had a phone call, and within that phone call, I was like, sign me up. I didn't, honestly, in full transparency, I did not experience the 5-day training like you all. So that's all it took for me, was knowing Fabiana and a phone call. But she exudes this presence. And I also knew that I was a follow through type of person, and I do what I say I'm going to do. However, I knew I needed a loving taskmaster to ride me. And that was exactly what I needed with Fabiana. And the community that was built, you know, I still belong to a Facebook group community with all of those ladies that were in the first round. I also still connect with those who are in the second round. Every other Sunday, we have a strategy session. And so we call a pod meeting. And that is invaluable, because you can't talk about these things and desires and things like with everybody in your world. So you need to have a protected circle of support. And that's what this provides. I was having a little bit of an audio issue on my end. Were you asking me to share ways that people could connect with me? Oh, I can put it in the chat. My website is Pathway to Personal Harmony. Okay, Kim is saying she's hearing some garbled audio as well. Pathway to Personal Harmony. And within that, you can, I have, you know, just free resources like trainings, as well as a 10-page resource that you can start developing your own peace pillars for harmony as well. So just check out Pathway to Personal Harmony.
And your Facebook group is called Women, what is it called? What is it
My
called?
Facebook group is Women Achieving Harmony, and I would love to have you join in that capacity as well. It's a more intimate group where we dig into some of the obstacles that present themselves on our journey, and we talk about them and have resources and interviews and trainings and things. Thank you, Fabiana, for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Courtney.